Did you know the FBI believes there are as many as 25 serial killers active at any given time? However, the Murder Accountability Project believes that number to be closer to 2,000. Welcome. I'm Jay.
I'm T.
We are Fatal Blend.
This is where we talk about two things we absolutely love: a little bit of coffee and a lot of true crime, specifically serial killers.
Yes, we do. And here we are again.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
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 I don't know. Just drew a blank. Well, we're one week closer
We are.
to episode 50.
Now, I want to point out that I just realized in my brain that we probably should have said episode 52 because that's like a 1 year. Like that's a 1 year. Episode 50 is a big deal, but 52 is like an even bigger deal because
well, maybe then we'll make
year.
52 special.
So that's what I was thinking. I think who I'm planning on doing for episode 50, I think I'm going to push them back to 52 and have it be our 1 year anniversary episode. And maybe that's when we can change our intro. And by the way, changing our intro is not going to be as drastic as people think.
Basically
I love the
same music, but
I love the music.
What's on each side of the music, we're going to switch up.
We're going to switch it up a little bit. And so, yeah. And I also want to take 1 minute to just, again, shout out the people who are listening to us. We have seen a huge increase in our followers. And I thought that it might have been like a fluke, but this is now week 3 of having massive jumps in our downloads. And I don't know if we're doing something wrong or if we're doing something right, but it's pretty cool because that means that there's like way more people listening to us.
Yep. And if y'all keep doing what you're doing, we'll keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's kind of surreal. I'm not going to lie. So that's all.
Yeah. Speaking of surreal, nope, has nothing to do with it. What are you drinking?
Oh, well, if you can tell, my voice is a lot better than it was last week, but I am still not 100%. I'm fine.
Whatever this cold is, it is taking people out.
I definitely think it was the flu or COVID. Yeah, it's one or the other.
Whatever this is, it's been taking people out.
Oh my God. And I literally I still feel like I have chlorine like stuck in my nose. So like my nose burns really bad, but my voice is sounding a little bit better. And I can actually walk around without completely losing my breath. But I just don't think I'm going to be up to the gym next week. I wanted to be, but unless something drastically changes in the next couple of days, it's not happening. Anyways, what am I drinking today? I am drinking, because I'm still not 100%, I'm drinking the black tea with honey and a little bit of coconut creamer in it too to make it that little creaminess, just a little bit. So that's what I've been drinking.
Nice. I had 2 coffees this morning. So I'm pretty caffeinated and coffeeed out, which is surprising. I decided to go with some little H2O to just flush the old body out. So nice heaping glass of ice water.
Which is funny because you'll never catch Jay drinking just plain water.
Nope.
So I think he kind of isn't feeling good.
No, I'm feeling all right. Feeling all right. Just, wanted to wash it down.
Wait, are you growing up? You're growing up.
And that brings us to why you all came here today. Who are we talking about?
All right. Show.
Wow. Sheesh, honey.
So today we are talking about Allan Joseph Legere. His nickname is the Monster of Miramichi. He has 5 victims. His murder dates are June 1986 to November 1989. The location is Miramichi, New Brunswick, Canada. So another Canadian.
Eh?
And the method of murder was beating, and characteristics are rape and robbery.
Which is interesting to hear beating as
I know
one of the causes of death, because normally You got like suffocation. Nope.
Yeah.
Strangulation is the word I was thinking of.
Well,
But
suffocation.
you have strangulation, you have stabbing, shooting, but just to
Beat somebody, to death. That's pretty fucking harsh, right?
Yeah.
All right, so
Hence the monster aspect of it, I believe.
probably. So here's the thing. We pride ourselves on finding out these people and who they are. I am striking the fuck out. Like striking out. I have background for him, but it is so damn minute. And then on top of it, it goes from background right into the murders. But again, there's kind of a reason. So just bear with me. We're going to do this like as a story time, like a real story. So just sit back and listen to the wonderful words of me about the monster of Miramichi. So Allan was born February 13th, 1948 in Chatham Head, New Brunswick. He was raised with siblings and had to share a room with his older sisters.
Well, that's where it is right there. Had to share a room. Got to get these people their own room.
Okay.
Just kidding.
That's actually a bad joke because you're not wrong. Part of what happened with him, supposedly, is because he shared a bedroom with his sisters.
I'm telling you.
So this sharing of a bedroom with his sisters, they were older sisters, supposedly is what started his sexual deviance. He used to sit there and watch his sisters get undressed. He would fondle himself to his sisters getting undressed. So this is where it starts for him. And then as he gets older, he progresses from that to peeping into women's windows and doing the same thing. So really, truly, him sharing a room with his sisters, not that that was his sister's fault at all, but that is where his sexual deviance started. Now, do I think if he had his own bedroom, he would have not had this issue? No, I do not. But I'm just saying they all shared a room. So yeah, you're not wrong. Now, he also developed an obsession with religion later in life. And at one time, he ran into a church and he was proclaiming that he was the one true path to God. And he was telling people, the parishioners, that the only way they would be granted passage into heaven is if they accepted him as their one true savior. To which I literally thought to myself, I feel like I've heard this story before. And I'm just going to say, I don't want to get caught for slander. So we're just going to say it's a guy who currently lives in our world who thinks he's fucking Jesus. So in 1979, at the age of 31, he gets arrested for stabbing a man in the face with a broken bottle, nearly severing the man's cheek because the two had gotten into a fight. The police came, and when they came, Allan actually pulled a knife on the police, which does not go very well for him, and he does get arrested for this.
You think?
Obviously. Okay, that's the background. So on June 21st, 1986, he is now 38 years old, and Allan, along with Scott Curtis and Todd Matchett, who are both like 19 and 20 years old, they break into a grocery store. Now, this grocery store belongs to a man named John Glendening and his wife, Mary. And they cut the power to the store, break in, and when they get in there, John and Mary hear this like thing going on.
The commotion.
Yeah, and they basically are like standing there looking at these people. And so what do? They beat the couple repeatedly. Now, John was found with his hands bound with an electrical cord. He had a scarf tied around his neck. He had a rock the size of a grapefruit that was found by his head, and he had a footprint. A footprint was left on his face, like a shoe footprint.
Yeah, so going extremely overboard.
Yeah. Now, Mary was sexually assaulted, and she was actually left unrecognizable even by her own daughter. And after they beat the shit out of them, the men leave. Well, Mary's unconscious, and she ends up waking up. She regains consciousness, and she comes to the horrific conclusion that her husband is dead. So she ends up crawling to the phone, dials 911. The police show up. She tells them everything, tells them descriptions of the men, and it does not take very long for the police to find the three men that are responsible. Now, they all get arrested. They all get charged. They're all convicted.
But not for very long.
Matchett actually pled guilty. Like, he actually pled guilty. And then Curtis was convicted. And on January 22nd, 1987, Allan is convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole in 18 years. That should be the end of the story.
Should be.
But alas,
But it's not.
we would not be a podcast that talked about serial killers if we just talked about somebody who killed one. So obviously that's not the end. So on May 3rd, 1989, so this is like 2 years later, 41-year-old Allan is serving his sentence. And he is transported to a local hospital because he has an ear infection. Now, while he's there, he has already kind of created this persona within jail. They talked to like the warden of the jail and stuff. And he said he's like a true like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Like he's really great, right? So he's got this corrections officer who's with him in the room. And he says to him like, hey, I need to go to the bathroom. And he's handcuffed. And the corrections officer is like, yeah, okay. And he's like, but like, can I just go by myself? Like I'm handcuffed. Like what the fuck? And I'm in the hospital. Like what the
And
fuck?
he's like, sure.
And
Why
he lets
not?
him. Yeah, he lets him. So he lets him go into the bathroom alone. And this is actually where he picks the lock on his handcuffs because he had actually keistered a sharp piece of metal.
And if you don't know what a keister is, it's a prison wallet. Where you
don't
stick
know,
stuff
if
up
you
your
don't know
butt.
what a prison was.
I just explained it. Old derriere.
Yes. So he had keistered a piece of sharp, which also, how does that not cut your butt? Like,
I mean, you might have had it wrapped in something like plastic or I don't know.
I don't know, but he pulls that thing out, picks the locks like on his handcuffs, and then he opens the door. Okay. And he's got like this homemade shank in his hand. He opens the door and basically holds the corrections officers at like bay as he runs out of the fucking hospital. Not hijacks. What do you call it? Carjacks this lady and fucking steals her car and escapes.
I don't think those two have a job anymore.
So this begins his life on the run, which is how he ends up becoming a serial killer because he fucking actually escaped and like actually stayed escaped for quite some time.
Wow.
All because he keistered a piece of metal. What? So on May 29th, 1989. So this is 20.
What was his monster of what? It wasn't loose booty? Anything like that?
That makes me think of Miss New
The
Booty.
keister of Calcutta or something like that? Like the Calcutta keister? Yeah.
No.
That's what I would have nicknamed him.
The keister of Canada because this is Canadian.
Yeah. The Canadian keister.
Anyway, so on May 29th, 1989, Allan breaks into the home of Annie Flam, who is 75, and she also lives with her sister-in-law, Nina Flam, who's 61. Now, both women are raped and severely beaten, and their home is set on fire. Now, the firefighters are obviously called because of this house that's on fire. They respond, and they do find Nina, and she is alive, but Annie is found dead in her bedroom. Now, at this point, the similarities between this crime and the crime of the Glendennings a couple of like years before.
They're like, we know who did this.
Yeah, this makes the police think that Allan is definitely the one who did this, but they can't actually prove it yet, and they have no fucking idea where he is. So then on September 30th, 1989, which by the way, if you notice, this isn't like back to back to back to back to back. This is like months are going by.
Well, yeah, because he's in hiding. He can't
I don't
be out
actually
there.
know why. Probably just because he's a true serial killer and he just takes his breaks until he wants to kill or rob or whatever. On August 1st, 1989, Edwin and Evangeline Russell, their home is broken into and both of them are assaulted, but they both live. So he's not
So he's just going around kicking people's asses.
He's
and,
stealing. He's robbing them, and then he happens to beat the shit out of them. And then sometimes if it's women, he'll rape them, and then he'll kill them sometimes, right? Like he's just weird. Then on September 30th, 1989, Morrissey Doran, who's 70, hears an intruder in his home. He goes to check it out and finds Allan in his home, and Allan ends up shooting him in his back, but he also does survive. Then on October 13th, 1989, Donna, who's 45, and Linda Donnies, she's 41, their home is broken into, and they are both raped and beaten to death. Now, their home is also set on fire. So in the early morning hours of October 14th, the firefighters show up to the house because obviously somebody calls 911 because their house is on fire. And this is where they discover the bodies of the women. And the scene was almost identical to
The first couple ladies. Yeah.
It was almost identical to the two women right after he broke out of prison that he had beaten and raped. And so right then the police are like, we know who did this. And then on top of it, through their investigation, they actually find that Allan has a connection to Linda. They had actually been in a previous relationship. So now they're pretty certain that Allan is responsible for these murders, along with the intruder break-ins, along with the murders of the Flam women. Pretty much at this time, the community is in a full-blown panic. Like, gun sales increased for people who are living alone and single people. People stayed in their homes. They very rarely left outside, like left after dark. And because of the timing, Halloween was actually canceled and people did not go trick-or-treating because of the fear that he had instilled this community.
Damn.
Yeah. So on November 16th, 1989, Father James Smith is 69 years old. He's a priest of Blessed Virgin Mary Church, and he doesn't show up for Mass. And one of the parishioners goes to check on him because if you don't know, for people who are not Catholic, if you don't know and I'm sure this is other churches too, I just know from firsthand knowledge that when a priest lives on the property of the church in their own home, a lot of the times they refer to it as a rectory, and it's a home that is given to the priest to live in while they are a priest of that church. And so a parishioner going to his home would literally be like walk across the parking lot. They're not like driving to his house, right? So they're kind of like, that's weird that he didn't show up. So they go to his home and they find him beaten to death in his home. And the safe had been robbed and his car had been stolen. So they call the cops, obviously. Now, the cops end up obviously looking for his car, but see, what ends up happening is during this whole thing, Allan ends up carjacking another person or trying to carjack a person, but the people are inside the car. And the person driving the car like got lost while they were driving. So she like pulled into a gas station to like, I don't know, whatever.
Sounds like an urban legend.
There was like another person in the car. They ran for it. Then he like basically grabs the car and tries to leave and ends up like hitting a snowbank or something. It's like a whole thing. And so they end up catching him because of that. So on November 24th, 1989, they end up catching him. They arrest him. First, Allan is tried for his escape because remember, he escaped prison like 3 years before this. And in August of 1990, he gets an additional 9 years added to his life sentence for the escape. Then his trial for the murders begins November of 1990. And he is actually convicted for the murders in November of 1991. And he is sentenced to life in prison as well. The jury consisted of 6 women and 5 men. And the judge actually told the jury after their verdict was read, he said, "I don't usually comment on verdicts, but let me just say this. Don't lose too much sleep over your verdict."
Okay, I'm sure they won't.
And Allan is currently serving his sentence in the Edmonton institution. He's still alive because he's got a life sentence. Okay, so that's my story.
I mean, it was a quick one, but it's.
I know. I don't.
You know, I'm a little. These people.
I have shots
who prey on the elderly, and if you're 60s and 70 years old, I'm not calling you elderly. I'm just saying they are older, more vulnerable.
I don't even know if he did it for that reason, though. He was breaking into grocery stores. You know what it reminded me of is that one dude that remember when we watched the movie, that really terrible movie about the guy who was breaking into grocery stores. It was kind of the same thing. Like he was going to these places because he knew they would have money there. I don't think it was necessarily because they were older. I don't think he like specifically went to these people's homes because they were older. I think he genuinely would like break into these people's grocery stores where their homes are above the grocery store. I don't think, and if I'm being super honest, I don't even know if he would have killed him if they hadn't shown up in the grocery store. I don't really know, but I don't think there was like I don't think he specifically went out and looked for older people. However, like you said, older people are more vulnerable, so it's probably a lot easier to do your thing, I guess, and be a dick. So,
and I'm sure he's not a small dude, and he's a lot younger, so
Well, no, because he was
Pick on somebody your own size.
in his
brother.
40s when he was doing
And
this.
if they're in their 60s and 70s,
Yeah, but I sit here and I go, I am 43.
bro, I'll take a 70-year-old down right now. I don't care.
What?
I ain't fucking around. Like, they ain't taking me. Just telling you that right now.
Oh my God. But I'm saying, like, you're in your 40s. How are you? How do you have the stamina to fight somebody?
They're probably in better shape than us. like,
Maybe.
There's two types of 40s.
Maybe, I guess. So do you want to hear the shots?
Yep.
Okay. Allan avoided being recaptured after his escape for 7 months. That's how long.
It's quite a bit.
To be honest, had he not wrecked into the snow pile, he probably would have been definitely.
Just kept on going.
Just kept going. Now, this Allan case, was the first time in Canada ever that they had used DNA fingerprinting to convict someone. Like prior to this, they had been using it to exonerate people.
Late 80s, that makes sense.
They had never actually convicted somebody using the DNA fingerprint. Now, Allan was transferred from a super maximum security prison in Santa Anne de Plaine in Quebec to the Edmonton Institution, which is just a maximum security prison in Alberta in 2015. So when he first went to jail in 1991, he was put into a super maximum security prison.
Yeah, and it's probably
I would like to know what a super maximum security prison is like.
It's probably this whole like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type of thing. Oh, look how nice I am. Like, no, you beat older people to death. You deserve to be in a supermax.
Yeah, and then then they pulled him from there in 2015.
And you escaped once, so you deserve to be in a supermax.
So he escaped once. Yes. So prior to his escape, he had actually planned an escape and failed. And after he got convicted in 1991, he planned another escape. And they fucking finally saw what he was trying to do and found that not only had he planned on escaping, but he planned on taking a woman hostage with him from the prison. So why did they move him from Supermax?
Supermax.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying. Like, just keep his ass there. Allan was early on, like his first jail sentence, he was held in Fredericton. I don't actually know the word, but it's a place. Now, he was held in jail there. And this jail actually closed in 1996. And now this jail is a science museum. And Allan's former cell, the one that he fucking stayed in, holds a DNA fingerprinting exhibit.
Okay, what is that? Like, not karma, but what's the word I'm thinking about?
I don't know, but I think it's fucking brilliant. Like, the shit that put him in jail, that is what they're showing you in this prison. And I think it's fucking amazing. Now, there is a special digital archive at the University of New Brunswick Law Department, which is all about New Brunswick's worst serial killer, Allan Legere. So he is actually coined as New Brunswick's worst serial killer. I don't know how many serial killers come from New Brunswick, but that's got to give you a little something.
All right, so just to give you a little bit here. Maximum security prisons, inmates may have jobs in the prison, such as in the kitchen, laundry, or library. Some may be allowed to in brief periods outside of their cells. Supermax, inmates are generally only allowed out of their cells for a short time each day and are escorted individually and under close supervision. Now, Supermax, they're highly controlled with strict movement controls. Maximum security prisons, you're shackled, but you're able to kind of move around the prison. And there's guard towers and stuff. So it's just a level.
Yeah, he should have stayed in Supermax.
Supermax, like you're spending 90% of your day in a cell.
You know,
yourself.
I almost wonder. Okay, because I should have wrote down his age. So 2015. He was born in 1948. So how old was he in 2015?
Oh, 67.
So I almost wonder if that has something to do with why they moved him, because he's now like hitting 70, and if they are,
that was in 2015, so he's close to 77 right now.
Right, but that's what I'm saying though, is he got moved in 2015. So I'm almost wondering if the reason they took him from Supermax to Maximum is because you just said that they had super strict movements, like they probably had to shuffle to walk places, and for him being almost 70 years old at the time, they were probably like, he's a waste of a prisoner to be here. He's taking up a cell for somebody who's probably a lot younger and maybe more of a, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for.
But you know who didn't get a choice? The people he killed.
I understand that. I do. But I'm trying to explain why most
Move him to the janitor's closet then. Don't care.
He would be able to escape from that. Don't you know this man's an escape artist? Anyways. So
at 67, you'd hear the squeaking of the freaking...
He's smart.
Well, you'd hear the squeaking of the tennis balls as he's like, with his walker.
I actually don't think he has a walker. I saw a picture of him. I don't believe he's in a walker quite
That was
yet.
a joke for older people.
So in August of 2020, he actually applied for day parole. He does, because he's allowed to apply, and then they have to decide if they want to let him go before the parole board. So they do agree to let him go before the parole board on January 13th, 2021. So this is just 3 years ago, folks. Now, he tells the parole board that he doesn't understand why the community can't forgive him and why they can't forget, and that he is a different man now. He also said that he is not. He was asked, "Are you a violent offender?" He said, "No." They said, "Are you a sex offender?" He said, "No." But he still also denies killing 2 of the victims. Now, his parole officer actually went before the parole board and stated that they are not seeing him accept responsibility for some of his crimes, which is one of the things you have to do to get parole.
Yeah.
And even though he has participated in multiple rehabilitation programs, and his parole officer said, we're not seeing any forward progress with him. She also said, we also are currently waiting for him to be put on the sex offender registry as well. It's not done yet. So they take all this information, and he is actually denied parole at the time.
Good.
Now he appeals this decision because he said, by golly, again, I'm not a bad guy. I'm not a violent offender. I don't understand why this community hates me so much. Like, forgive me. Forget about what I did, because that's not fucking how it works. But anyways, so he goes forward and says, no, I was not denied parole because I'm not fit to be in the streets. He said, I was denied parole because there were 2 females on that board and they are biased against me. And they did a whole investigation in it because they were like, okay, I mean, there could be truth to that, because the other thing is one of the women on the parole board had asked him some questions. And then after he answered them about like not being a sex offender, one of her responses was, well, that's really funny because we have in front of us reports of you trying to do inappropriate things to female officers in your prison. And his response was, they all love me. I'm a girl's guy. Like, they love me. And so they were like, okay, we're going to look into this. Well, they looked into it and they found that no, he's full of shit.
Duh.
And they denied him his parole. They denied his
appeal
and his parole. They denied his parole appeal, and he is still in prison. And I don't think he's ever
as he should be. You know, even if you take account for what you do, you should. But he did.
That's the biggest thing is he's got 2 of them where he actually said to the parole board, I'm not a bad guy. I'm not a violent offender. I'm not a sex offender. Also, I did not kill those people. I don't know who it is that he says he didn't kill, but what he said was, I was present, but I did not kill them.
Probably in the first one. Because there were 3 people, right?
Maybe, and you could totally be right. Maybe. Which,
but
by the way, both of the people who were involved with that with him, they all are still in jail. Well, one of them died in jail, but they are still in jail.
Well, and here's the other thing. If you murdered somebody, not on accident, which these were not accidents, and you admit it, you should never see the light of day.
I agree.
I don't believe anybody who murders somebody on purpose should ever be out.
Murder is on purpose.
No, but what I'm saying is you have like,
manslaughter,
you have like manslaughter
whatever. No,
and stuff like that.
I totally agree.
You know, there's extenuating circumstances, which I still think people should get in trouble.
Yeah.
But
do you know
because the decision led to that consequence, so you should take that consequence. But if you plan to murder somebody, I don't care if you took credit for it and was like, yep, I understand, I was bad. Okay.
You should never get out on parole. I agree.
No, ever.
Did you know that had he committed these crimes in the United States,
death sentence,
he actually, in most states, well, any of the states that still have death penalty, he would have been one of his sentence options would have been death penalty because he killed these people in the middle of trying to steal and rob. And then he would steal from them, which is a grounds for first degree murder. So all I'm saying is I agree. And also, this man in particular should never get out because he escaped from jail once and went on a fucking 7-month bender of killing people to steal from them.
But the people he killed probably loved him and they like him and he's a people person.
I can't even believe, like, when I read that he was like, I don't understand why they can't forgive me. What
Dumbass.
the fuck? Even if they did forgive you, sir, they will never forget the terror you rained on this damn community. They canceled Halloween, for God's sake. I was going to say,
you got these kids that didn't get a Halloween that are now adults.
Yeah.
That's why they hate you.
Yeah.
Because you screwed them out of their childhood.
You took away their child. Well, really, he did. For almost a year, he terrorized this town. And think of the kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your Halloween is taken away. And what do your parents look at you and say, oh, we can't trick or treat this year. Why? Because the city says so. Why? Because there's a fucking murderer out here.
Yeah,
like,
I would just tell the kids
awful.
to go out front and then turn around and knock on the door and I'd fill up their
trick or
their
treat
things with candy and be like, get inside.
Like, yeah, it's just really, and I know it sounds like stupid because it's like, oh, it's just Halloween, but that's a big part of people's lives, right? And that's part of your childhood. And when things get drastically changed because somebody's running around and killing people, that is detrimental and traumatic to anybody who lived in that city. So no, they're never going to forget. No, they probably are never going to forgive you because those people you killed were their family members and their friends. So no, they're just never going to. And therefore you're going to rot in prison. And I hope you do. And you're getting older. What did you say? He's what did you say?
In his 70s now.
So I'm sure he's going to die here in a little while.
I hope you lose the control of your bowels and poop your pants.
Okay, well, on that note.
Mm-hmm. And with that, we'll say thanks for listening. Thanks for following.
Thank you for all this
Keep
support.
sharing. Keep clicking that download button.
Please don't unfollow us because
I just like to throw out jokes.
Jay talks about pooping pants.
We've all done it. I've done it.
We've not all done it.
Shit happens.
We've not all done it.
Give it time, lady.
We've not all.
Give it time.
Oh my goodness.
If we keep doing this podcast, there will be one time you'll be like, it happened.
No, I actually don't think so because I just don't see myself having that issue. But anyways,
shit happens.
Anyways, thank you so much. And again, follow us if you like what you hear so that you can always be updated when we post, which is every Thursday. And so until next Thursday, I'm just going to say goodbye.
And I'll hit you with the bye-bye.